Hi, hello there amateurs. Today we're talking about 24 races that we'll see this season starting next week. Some of them have been on the calendar for a very long time, some of them are a lot more fresh. A bit about some of the background behind the actual races. Let's go. I just want to preface this by saying that there may be some information that I leave out, such as whether each track has been used on and off, or may have not been on for a while, but that's just the information that unfortunately I didn't get at the time of my research, but just to let you know beforehand. Thank you. So we kick off down under in Australia at the Albert Park circuit, where last year Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari team won the podium, won first place, won pole, and he was at that time 2 weeks post-op after having his appendix removed due to appendicitis, which made it so he couldn't attend the Saudi Arabia race. And this track has been used since 1996, and the first race on the 14th to the 16th of March, kicking off with first practice on the Friday and the race on the Sunday. And now we head to China, to Shanghai International Circuit on the 21st to the 23rd of March. This track has been used since 2004, but for 5 years it wasn't used and only has returned onto the race schedule last year. And this has been also the only race where we had a Chinese driver in the mix, Zhou Guanyu, who is currently a reserve driver, so he may appear on the track, but it's highly unlikely unless someone has another health issue or for whatever reason they can't take part in the Ferrari team. So either if Lewis Hamilton or Charles Leclerc have an issue where they can't drive, he would take on that role. But he had an honorary podium place for himself, even though he didn't get any points that day last year. Hopefully we will see, if not him, another Chinese driver in Formula One, but that's all to play for with the future. So China is the 21st to the 23rd of March, and we are looking forward to that one. And Max Verstappen won the Chinese Grand Prix. And now we go to Japan, to the Suzuka circuit. This is after a week-long break between China and Japan, so the race is on the 4th to the 6th of April. This track has been used since 1987 and has been one of a couple of Japanese tracks, notably one of them being Fuji, which was used briefly, but Suzuka has been the track that has been returned to most often. So this is the third race in the calendar, and last year it was Max Verstappen who won the Japanese Grand Prix. And the fourth race is Bahrain, the international circuit, and this kicks off on the 11th to the 13th of April. This track started to be used in 2004 alongside the Chinese Grand Prix and has been used ever since, with last year's winner being also Max Verstappen. We now go to Jeddah, which is the fifth race, which is in Saudi Arabia. The track is called the Jeddah Corniche circuit. This has been used since 2021, and the race is being held on the 18th to the 20th of April, with last year's winner being also Max Verstappen. And now we go to Miami, baby, for the sixth race of the season. This is the Miami International Autodrome, which is at the Hard Rock Stadium. This is held between the 2nd and the 4th of May, and this has been used since 2022. And this is where Max's dominance ends, because this has been the first race in Lando Norris's career where he won and now is no longer Lando Norris. The 7th race, we go to a track with a very long name because it has different ones, specifically 3. Emilia-Romagna, also known as Imola, but officially known as Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari. And this starts on the 16th, ends on the 18th, and has been used since 1980 to 2006, and then brought back in 2020 and has been used ever since. And this race was won by Max Verstappen last year. A sad side note to the Imola race was that this is the race where Ayrton Senna, the legendary Ayrton Senna, lost his life. So it has a lot of meaning to the Formula One world, as this is the last time we saw him on the track before his unfortunate end in 1994. We continue the mini European season with race number 8 in Monaco. This is one of the granddaddies of Formula One races. This is a street circuit in the Principality, so it has to be a street circuit because there is literally nowhere else to hold it. If it has to be in Monaco, it has to be on the streets. And this race has been there since 1950 and is known just simply as Circuit de Monaco. It is also the most local race to quite a few drivers who live there for various reasons that they might have. This race occurs on the 23rd to the 25th of May and was won by Charles Leclerc, which is his home race, and it was the first time that he won at his home race in Monaco, so it was a very special one for him indeed. We now go to Spain, the race that is held across 2 months because it starts on the 30th of May, ends on the 1st of June. This track has been used since 1991 and is soon to be moved elsewhere in Spain. It is currently known as the Barcelona-Catalunya circuit. However, it is going to be held soon in Madrid and has been known to be, the new track will be a hybrid of half street, half racetrack, a combination, but we have no idea how that will work out yet as it hasn't been used yet. It's still being built. This was also last year's last race of Max Verstappen's dominance. It was the last race he won in a sort of chain of events before he started on a 10 race streak of not winning at all until, you'll see. Race 10 now, and we head to Canada in Montreal to the Gilles Villeneuve, a track which has been used since 1978 and is named after Gilles Villeneuve, who once won there and is a famous Canadian driver who unfortunately is no longer with us. The race is being held from the 13th to the 15th of June and has last time been won also by Max Verstappen. However, the order of the races last year was slightly different to what we'll see this year. Welcome back to Europe, and we are now in Spielberg in Austria on the Red Bull Ring, which was not won by a Red Bull driver. In fact, it was won by George Russell last year. Max Verstappen and Lando Norris notoriously had a crash which knocked out Lando Norris from the race, but still qualified as finishing the race. Because this crash occurred quite close to the end, it still qualified as him finishing the race fully. And Max Verstappen, although with severe damage and a missing wheel, he did finish the race as he would have anyway, and this caused a little bit of an argument between the two, but they have since patched things up. So the Austria race this year is held on the 27th to the 29th of June, and this track has been used since 1970 but has not always been referred to as Red Bull Ring. It has previously been known as the A1 racetrack. Welcome to the glorious sunshine of Silverstone. We are in the UK on the 4th to the 6th of July on the Silverstone circuit, one of the most famous circuits around, part of the whole granddaddy sort of idea, has been used since 1950 on and off, occasionally being being swapped out with Donington Park and some other tracks, but this one was the place where the first ever Formula One race was held, which is sort of the reason why Formula One is sort of seen as not only a European sport but a British sport, and a lot of teams tend to base themselves in the UK for various reasons, but it's technically sort of the home, the OG home of Formula One due to historical reasons. And this will be race number 12. We're halfway there. The Silverstone race in 2024 was won by Lewis Hamilton. Race number 13 brings us to Belgium on the 25th to the 27th of July. On the circuit to Spa-Francorchamps, this track has also been used since 1950. It's also one of the granddaddy sort of races, but soon in the future it will be used every other year as a result of perhaps Formula One wanting to include other races in between, perhaps bring old tracks into the mix every now and then. Don't know what will happen after 2031 when the next contract with the track runs out, but I'm sure closest to the end of that contract we will find out whether they will continue to use this track or not. But at the moment we know that it will soon be a on-off racetrack, although it holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts as it is one of the OG tracks. Overall, you can say that Mercedes won the Belgium race in 2024, although originally George Russell won the race. It was actually given to Lewis Hamilton as a result of George's disqualification due to his car being too light, and as a way seeing as having gained an advantage over all the other drivers. We're heading to Hungary now, to the Hungaroring, which has been used since 1986 and was the place last year where a lot of controversial McLaren strategies were used. Some say that the strategy used by McLaren, where they pitted Lando Norris first and then asked Lando to give the place back to Oscar because he was faster throughout the whole entire race, but because they pitted the wrong person at the wrong time, that caused the issue there. Eventually he did give up his first position and gave it back to Oscar. Hopefully we won't see this year, as that was very awkward to witness, but the race is on the 1st to the 3rd of August, and last year, as I said, it was won by Oscar Piastri, his first ever career win. The Netherlands has a long history in the sport, with the race being held since 1952 on and off until 1985, but then being brought back in 2020 as a sort of way of involving the Dutch people with their beloved Dutch driver Max Verstappen. And last year was the first time ever that he lost the Dutch Grand Prix to Lando Norris. So this race is held on the 29th to the 31st of August. This is on the Zandvoort track, and this comes after a 3-week break, the 3-week summer break, where everybody just wants it all the whole time to just quickly pass so we can get back onto the track, apart from all the teams where they just want some time off to calm themselves, be fully refreshed and prepared for the rest of the season. And this is also when we get the Grill the Grid content, which we always look forward to seeing the drivers' opinions, testing their knowledge. Yeah, great time, but also quite a long time. But then again, we do survive 3 months of nothing on track as well. But that's the Netherlands. We now enter the land of the Tifosi. We are in Monza in Italy, on Autodromo Nazionale Monza, and we are there on the 5th to the 7th of September. This track is another granddaddy track which was used since 1950. It's beloved by so many people. It's relatively tame in most places, but it's a very quick track, and it's where Charles Leclerc won last year, and this will be race number 16. Race number 17 takes us to Azerbaijan, to the Baku City track, which is a street track that was won by Oscar Piastri last year. It has been used since 2016 and continues to be on the calendar. It has some tricky corners made famous by Charles Leclerc when he went into one and then said, "I am stupid, I am stupid." This is being held 2 weeks after Monza on the 19th to the 21st of September. We now head to race number 18, which is the most exhausting physically race for drivers. It's in Singapore. It's the Marina Bay circuit, also a street circuit that has been used since 2008. Temperatures reaching very high levels in terms of being able to just maintain sanity whilst you're in a car. The car itself, when you're driving, the drivers have said, gets up to 60 degrees Celsius. Humidity is really high, it's around 90%, so they are starved of water. They are a little bit delirious. It's easy to lose your concentration there. Ice baths and ice packs and things like that are very common there for the drivers, just to be, driving level-headed, but ultimately it is very exhausting for the drivers. It's also one of the reasons why the Qatar race in 2023 was moved to later on in the year, because it was held around the beginning to middle bit of the calendar until the drivers were basically fainting, so it had to be moved to a slightly colder time around November, December time as a result of temperatures being really high, but this is not being considered for Singapore. And this race was won by Lando Norris in 2024, and this race will be held between the 3rd and the 5th of October. Race 19 takes us stateside to Texas, specifically in Austin, to a very strangely named United States Grand Prix on a circuit of the Americas. It's strange because the United States has 3 races and has been since 2023. This being race number 2 in the United States, but this has been a track used since 2012 and is being held on the 17th to the 19th of October, with last year's winner being Charles Leclerc. This was his final win of the year last year. Turning south now, and we go to Mexico, to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. This track has been used on and off since 1963 and has been on the calendar permanently in recent times since 2015, and this race is being held from the 24th to the 26th of October, with Carlos Sainz taking his final win of the year and celebrating, even though it's not his home race, it's his home language race, so it was just as special as if he would have won in Spain, and this was his final race win before going to Williams in 2025. We head even more south now to Brazil, to a race where so many emotions were made last year. It was the longest race, the longest weekend we've ever seen for a very long time. We saw Max Verstappen starting from 17th and finishing first. We saw an Alpine double podium with Gasly and Ocon, and this race is being held in Sao Paulo, as it usually does, on Autodromo José Carlos Pache. This track has been used since 1973, and the race this year is between the 7th and the 9th of November, and it's probably going to be filled with as many emotions, if not more, this year. Perhaps we'll see a different winner, perhaps we'll see the same winner, perhaps the weather is going to be as crazy as it was last year, perhaps it'll be crazier, perhaps it'll be more tame. Brazil is an unpredictable one, and we love her for this. Race number 22 brings us to the Las Vegas Strip, the race, which is iconically known as the Upside Down Pig Race because the track looks like an upside down pig. This has been used since 2023. It's quite a glitzy, glammy, sometimes over-the-top race with the lead-up. There's a lot of glitter, there's a lot of sequins. It tends to be very cold. It's at a time where it's not convenient for anybody because for people in Las Vegas, it's at night when the city gets the most busy, and for everyone else around the world, it's either right before their bedtime, during their bedtime, very early in the morning, which nobody would want to wake up for on a weekend, but some of us do wake up for the crazy times just to see what might go on due to the cold temperatures there around the end of November, with this race being on the 20th to the 22nd of November. There's a lot of skidding. Some teams are better with being on tracks that are colder. Some manage better on warmer tracks. This was a good track for Mercedes last year, with George Russell winning his podium, followed by Lewis Hamilton, and also this is where Max Verstappen got his 4th World Championship title, although he finished 5th. The penultimate race, race number 23, takes us to the Losail International Circuit in Qatar on the 28th to the 30th of November. This track has been used since 2021 and was last won by Max Verstappen, which was the final race he won last year, and this year we will see who will take that crown. And now we go to the final race of the season, Abu Dhabi, which is often the decider for championships. Last year was the decider of who won the constructors, which we know was between McLaren and Ferrari, and McLaren came out on top. This year the Abu Dhabi race at the Yas Marina circuit is between the 5th and the 7th of December, with the first ever race being held in 2009, and the winner for last year was Lando Norris. Now that we finished discussing all of the main races, I just want to mention that there are a few sprint races sprinkled between the whole year. There are 6 of them. They are mini races where typically the drivers go for a race for 19 laps. It equates to around about 100 kilometers for the sprint race, and they win a little plaque. The points are much smaller than usual, but it does go towards their driver standing. Last year we had 6 races which were in China, won by Max Verstappen, Miami, won by Max Verstappen, Austria, won by Max Verstappen, COTA, aka the United States, one in Texas was won by Max Verstappen, and then in Brazil it was won by Lando Norris, and in Qatar it was won by Oscar Piastri. This year we will see sprints in China, Miami, Belgium, United States, aka Texas, aka COTA, Brazil, and Qatar. And now I would like to thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in to Be the Change Network, and don't forget to check out all of my wonderful colleagues on the network, and I will see you next weekend when we will be discussing the race that is upcoming in Melbourne. Thank you. Bye.